Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about God consciousness and the God state, what it is. We're just going to dive into it and kind of get a feeling for how the God consciousness or the God state feels like. And before I jump into today's video, I want to make a quick announcement about the next meditation practice on Saturday. I have already done like 3 of them, 3 live meditation practices. And if you want to practice with me, you can access the recordings from the past meditations down below. Or also, like after I posted this video, obviously, or also you can participate in the next Saturday live meditation. And this week's live meditation is about manifesting contact from your specific person. So we're going to dive into that and get a feeling for what it feels like to live in a reality where you and your specific person are in constant contact, you're receiving constant communication. It's natural for you, it's normal for you, and we're going to explore how that feels like together on Saturday. If you want to join, then you can do so by accessing the link in the description below. And as I said, this is a live video, so I don't think that you're seeing a description box down below, but I'm gonna put it there. Or if you really want to get your tickets straight away, you can go into my online shop, which you will find as a link in every description box of any old video. All right, and also, of course, if you want to be supported by me one-on-one, check out my online shop. You'll find all of my services there, all of my guided meditations, and I'd love for you to be joining. If you can't make it on Saturday, even if, you know, maybe you see the video and all of the meditation practices that I'm announcing right now are already over, but maybe I'm hosting another meditation practice. Or also, I will always record my meditation practices, and you can simply buy the ticket now because it's cheaper, and then you will get the recording afterwards. All right, so I'll usually write it in the description if there is going to be a recorded included. If you're not sure, ask me, but if it's not included, I'll also write it in the description, so that's how you're gonna know. All right, so now let's get started with today's topic, which is God consciousness. And I've just made a poll on Instagram. I just made a poll and asked what topic should I talk about, and I don't think I talked about God consciousness on this YouTube channel. And I'm actually a little bit surprised that most of you voted for that. So now I'm gonna talk about God consciousness, and it's a little challenging, but I also love it because it's not a topic that was most requested in the past. But maybe I should have asked for it earlier, I don't know. But I am curious myself how I'm going to describe it, because my videos usually aren't scripted or anything. Like, I'm just doing that from my experience and from my own perception and from my own like connection to source energy and connection to consciousness and, you know, my own just my own perspective. So I'm curious myself how and where we're gonna go with this. If you have some questions, you can always put them in the comments, like even if you are joining and the video is already uploaded, put them in the comments. But also if you're in the live right now, just put your questions there, because I can imagine that I'm going to receive some questions that are going to inspire me to describe to you how I'm perceiving the God state or what I think God consciousness means. But I can already say up front, honestly, you gotta experience it. When you're experiencing it, you gotta know. And I'm gonna share meditations for the future. But the God consciousness is also something like you can kind of feel into it as I'm gonna describe it. So you want to make sure to participate with your entire presence, with your entire body, and kind of like explore for yourself if what I'm saying is resonating or what your own take on God consciousness is. And you can also put your comments and share your experiences and your perspectives in the comments. So now I have some comments already. I want to see what they say. Your videos are really great. They are underrated. You got this. Like there's some smiley, I think. Like love your channel and Instagram. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you're participating live. And I'm so happy that you love my content. It's really great for me to see that you're enjoying my content and that you find it helpful. All right, now let's get started. And as I said, I'm just gonna describe it from my own experience. And I think I'll actually find quite a simple explanation for what God consciousness means. So, as a human being, you are conditioned to perceive yourself as your personal story, your personal history. And that is, I'm this body, and I was born, and I'm living now through time, and I'm gonna die. And that's as much as, you know, as a human being with your conditioning, that's basically, in a very simplified way, who we think we are as humans. Like, I'm this person, I was born, I'm this body with a psyche or with a personality, with my own characteristics, with a character. And yeah, I'm gonna grow up, and then I'm gonna grow old, and then I'm gonna die, and I don't know what happens afterwards. That's in a very simplified way what we're imagining to be as a human being, or what we're conditioned to be as a human being. Now, many people, when they are awakening spiritually, or even when they're just questioning who they really are, at some point there comes the realization that you're not this personality, or that you're not only this personality. Because obviously I'm not denying the body, I'm not denying my personality or my psyche, I'm not denying time in a sense that I say that it doesn't exist at all. I don't do that, although time is a matter of perspective. Like it exists in our perception as humans, but also that exists within consciousness. So time is something that we're experiencing as humans, but it's not defining God consciousness. And when you're shifting into, or when you're awakening from your identity, so to speak, and you're starting to understand or to realize that you are not your personality, you're not denying that it exists, but you're not it, then there's a deeper awareness that you're kind of awakening up to, or that you are starting to perceive. And at some point you're starting to realize that the personality, the entire human experience, including time, is happening within awareness. And that's what I mean by I'm not denying time. Like, I'm not denying the relative truth of time. But that is also something that we are experiencing within consciousness. And to apply a little more of a manifestation slang into my explanation, it is something that we're imagining in God consciousness. Like, you can understand it that way. Like, awareness, consciousness is God, our imagination is God, and or our perception is God. Like, consciousness, like just everything basically, is God. And within that consciousness, like, I don't see God as some person. It's not a person, it's consciousness. And within that consciousness is intelligent. That's who you are. That consciousness is intelligent. God is intelligent. God consciousness is intelligent. Or just consciousness, if you're feeling that God has maybe too much of a Christian or any other kind of like association for you. You don't have to use the word. Like, I don't associate God necessarily with Christianity or any religion per se. So I like to use it, but you don't have to. But that's what I consider the God state or God consciousness to be. It's like just consciousness itself, the substance, or the substance, the space, the somethingness or the nothingness in which everything else exists. And within that consciousness, you can dream up, imagine everything else. So the God state or the God consciousness from my perspective is waking up to or being on the level of awareness where you're realizing that your personality, your entire experience is happening within the vastness of consciousness, within the space or within the substance of consciousness. So although we're experiencing time, we're experiencing matter, we're experiencing space, we're experiencing so many things, and we're knowing so many things, all of that itself is happening within consciousness. It's happening in a more scientific way. You would say it's happening in your brain, but that's honestly not really what I believe at a deeper level. Like, I think that's a relative truth, because yes, we are kind of within our human experience. As scientists are looking for explanations where they're coming from, they're kind of locating consciousness. Like, I think some are doing that, or like locating everything in the brain, but that's not, like, there's a relative truth about that. Of course, there are neural connections and everything else, you know, exists, but also that's not the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is that even that is imagined within consciousness. It's imagined within the formless awareness. And that's where your body is, that's where your personality is, that's where time is, that's where all parallel dimensions are, if you even want to call it that. Because honestly, for me, at a deeper level, it's much, much simpler. There's consciousness, and there's that happens within consciousness. And if you dream up and make the universe have multiple or infinite realities, like, that's what you're experiencing in that moment, that's your truth. But everything is possible within awareness, however you want to explain it. Like, if you want to explain that it's all imaginations, or that there are infinite realities, parallel realities. I know that people talk about that. For me personally, that's all still a theory that happens within one consciousness, that one consciousness that can access whatever it wants. So this was what I just spontaneously kind of thought of sharing when explaining God consciousness, and you can try that out for yourself. Like, I was doing that when I was a child. I believe what I was doing, like the kind of inquiry that I was doing when I was a child, was kind of preparing me for my life, for my journey that I'm now on. I was lying, and I think I was lying in bed, or I don't know where I was. And I was contemplating before going to bed. I was like just reflecting, and I was closing my eyes, and I was like imagining something, like for no reason. I was just asking myself, I was just wondering. I would imagine, I don't know what I was imagining, like something, like some object. I think it was an orange or something. I was imagining that. I was like, where? No, it was not an orange. Like, I don't remember. Like, I was just dreaming up stuff. Actually, I was thinking also sometimes about things that are not even existing, like in physical reality. I was like, if I can imagine that thing that doesn't exist physically in my reality, like, we think it's impossible, but I can imagine it, like, where is it? Where is it actually? And I was wondering, I was like, I can clearly see it in my mind's eye. So I can't say that it doesn't exist at all, because otherwise I wouldn't see it. And I was just like wondering, like, where is it? Like, where is it? If it's in my imagination, like, what does that mean? Where is that? And that was how I like developed this relationship to like my internal world, where I think I started to be like having this, you know, awareness, this extra awareness of my own thoughts and my own imagination. And you can do that within yourself as well. Like, just think of something, like maybe something you want, or maybe just something random, and it could be any existing or non-existing thing, and ponder on it. Like, go within and dream it up, bring it up, and like, I don't know, I want to imagine a chair flying. Like, it's a chair, you can sit on it, it stands maybe next to a table, but it doesn't stand on the floor, it's just like there. It's just like be above the floor, something that doesn't exist within our reality. And you can clearly see it in your mind's eye. So where is that? It's that kind of like exploring, I can clearly see it, so I can say that somehow it exists, even if it's just in my imagination, but you can clearly picture it. And I would do that. And at the point that I'm getting to is, if you start dreaming things up, like in your imagination, you will start to, obviously, you will start to see that you can dream up anything. Like, you can dream up any reality, like there are no real limits in imagination. And that inner consciousness, that, from my perspective, is a big part of God consciousness. Like, first of all, the part that everything is possible. Everything is possible in God consciousness. That's a very important part. But now the second part of that is to not only think that, oh, this is just my imagination, nothing, spectacular about it. It's imagination. Of course, everything is possible within imagination. But it's not actually so obvious that everything is possible within imagination, because then why should be everything possible within imagination, but not in our 3D reality? Why should that be? It actually doesn't make so much sense. Like, why would I have a brain? And actually, I wouldn't place imagination within the brain. Like, yeah, in physical reality, the brain needs to function to have your imagination function. But on a deeper level, the brain doesn't produce imagination from my perspective. The brain can't produce consciousness. It's consciousness that produces, or that it's consciousness that is the foundation for us perceiving anything, including our bodies, and the brain is a part of our body. So that's the manifestational point of view, and that's also my own deeper inquiry. There's the response that I receive from my own deeper inquiry, because consciousness is the ultimate reality. Consciousness is the source, so to speak. Humans are always wondering about the source, but we're not realizing that we are the source. You can't locate the source externally. It doesn't make any sense, because the precise intelligence, the same intelligence that is asking for the source, that intelligence is the source. So if everything is possible within your imagination, why wouldn't it be possible within the 3D reality? It doesn't make so much sense. Like, unless you're really conditioned to think like, no, that is because you, and then you give a bunch of conditioned answers, unless you're really going down that road where you say it's not possible because X, Y, Z. It doesn't actually make so much sense. Why would we be equipped with an imagination that is so much bigger and so much more potent than our reality? Like, there's no good explanation for that. So what is also important to acknowledge in order to get into the God state or into God consciousness is to not only say that it's just in my imagination possible, but no, my imagination is primary, and through my imagination or through my consciousness, I like to use the word consciousness more. I know that in the Neville Goddard teachings, there's he uses a lot the word imagination. I like consciousness for some reason. Like, I resonate more with that word, but I think they're, interconnected. So from my perspective, it's the conscious, like, you gotta accept or know, like, know is a better word. You gotta know and resonate at the level where you know that you are creating reality, that you are manifesting reality, that you are a manifester, and that you can manifest because you are consciousness and you are dictating reality. You are directing reality. You are creating it with your thoughts, with your emotions, with your identification, and you're commanding it by knowing it into being. That's what you can do through consciousness, and through consciousness, everything is possible. So from my perspective, the God state combines everything is possible within consciousness, and consciousness is primary. And and I am consciousness. So if you know these three things, I am consciousness, within consciousness everything is possible, and consciousness is primary, when you know that, then you have the foundation to feel extremely powerful and to use that power to, to create beautiful experiences, to create a beautiful life, to create love, to create the experiences that you want to create, to, manifest the life that you desire, to become the version of yourself that you want to be, to become the person that you want to be, and even, beyond your own personal identity. And I think the deeper you go, the more you want to create good for everybody else as well, because there's only one consciousness. So beyond the level of personal identity, you can create a beautiful reality for everybody involved. And I'll repeat it again because I think it's important. So you are consciousness. Everything is possible within consciousness, and consciousness is primary. I think the trap that we can fall into is to say that everything is possible within consciousness, but, my consciousness is in my body, and my body is in physical reality. And so even if there's everything possible within consciousness, I cannot command my reality. So that's a trap from my perspective, because again, it puts you actually in a powerless place, because what does it help you that everything is possible within consciousness if you are still trapped in physical reality? You gotta understand, and this happens also through inquiry, through trying it out, through asking who you are, through really wondering and questioning common beliefs about how reality works, including some of the science. Or some of the conclusions that people are drawing or concluding from science. Because from my perspective, you can find evidence within science that what I'm saying is true, and you will if you're looking for it. For example, our brain can, our neural pathways are connecting in a way that, makes us filter the reality and the information out of reality that we are conditioned to believing. So if you're wired to be loved, then you're gonna experience and make experiences that make you feel loved. If you are wired to feel powerless, then you're going to feel powerless, because that's what your brain is wired for. But you can recondition yourself. So with your consciousness, you can start to direct your thoughts and recondition your brain, rewire your brain, rewire your neural pathways. So that's one thing. There's also evidence that in quantum physics that suggests that it's true what I'm saying, not only from a spiritual point of view, as some people might label it. From my point, it's more an experiential point of view. But from a quantum physics perspective, what they basically say, I'm by no means an expert in quantum physics, but what they basically say is that the observer is changing the reality that he's looking at. So the observer and the object in reality are connected, and the observer is changing what happens by observing it, which also fits into the perspective that we are the creators of our reality and that our consciousness is actually primary. Now, I'm not going to go deeper into that rabbit hole, because, as I said, I'm not an expert on quantum physics, but these scientific cornerstones help me personally kind of understand consciousness a little better. I think they're really worth exploring. That's why I mentioned them. But there are many beliefs, or many people who say that scientifically this is not possible, and then they give you some reasoning and some storyline that sounds like it makes sense, because it also really fits our conditioning and how we were raised to think. But if you dig deeper into it, it doesn't actually make so much sense, and it's more conditioning, actually, believing things are impossible because you learn that they're impossible, and then finding scientific evidence for that, which actually could just be a reinforcement of old beliefs. So I suggest that you start questioning for yourself, come to your own conclusions, of course. But as I said, if you want to look into neuroscience, if you want to look into quantum physics, you will find evidence that consciousness is actually not only creative, but it's actually primary. And yeah, I'm going into that topic very, very deeply, but I just felt inspired to talk about it. And now I'm going to slow down a little bit because I feel like I was going a little fast. And I want to see if there are any questions. I'm going to get into the question and the first one. In my personal experience, affirmation is one of the many ways to impress subconscious mind. You've got to see what technique puts you in the end state. Whichever works, follow it. Okay, I think that was the response to someone else, actually. Oh, there are more questions. Okay, I'm going to go back to the questions. So from Ank, a question. Sometimes coaches say we can live in every reality, but then they complain about people. Why would they complain about the people instead of manifesting them different? That's a great question. And honestly, it's difficult to really assess why people would do that or why someone would do that. I would say that, as I said earlier, some people talk about parallel realities. And the thing is, the question that you need to ask yourself is how do you come to the conclusion of parallel realities? Have you experienced it? Is this an interpretation? If somebody is not really having experience with that and really having lived or understood what parallel realities mean, then I wouldn't just take it on as a belief system. That's why I say I don't know exactly what people mean by parallel realities. That's a deeper topic from my perspective that, you need to inquire about and understand for yourself. That theory makes sense. If you think that when you're manifesting, you're going into a different reality, or actually your reality is just simply shifting. And I feel maybe sometimes we're looking at that from a very human perspective, I'm shifting into a reality, because if I'm manifesting something that is not in my current reality, it could just be a different reality, a different version, a different reality. It could be that people don't really understand it. They're saying it and they're applying manifesting. They see that it somehow works. They explain it in a way they didn't understand. And then they go about complaining because they themselves, are still conditioned, and their conditioning is actually complaining about people. Or maybe, that's one interpretation, but I don't know. It could be that they do know about parallel realities, they do understand it, they have experienced it, and they're complaining because they're unaware in that moment. Also a coach or a teacher is still, it's difficult to explain, because I think the healthy perspective is if there's a coach in your life that you're looking at, you should be aware that you're the creator of your reality and not they. Don't put them above you, because they're still a reflection of you. You perceiving them, what they say, what they complain about. It's a lot also of your own interpretation. Maybe the person had a bad day. And they just want to vent. Maybe they just need to talk about it. Or if they're constantly doing that, then they're really not aware of their own victim mindset, and they're still coaching. I don't know, because maybe they can help people, or maybe I don't know. I can't tell you what other people and other coaches do. But of course, if you're constantly complaining and you're doing so and you're not aware of it, you're definitely having a blind spot. But we're all in this journey. We're constantly growing. So my best tip is, don't put anyone else above you. Listen to people that help you, of course, but always, and not in a cynic or skeptic way, or question them, but just question them from a healthy place where you're I'm the creator of my reality, and I'm gonna see if what this person says makes sense. Or if you don't think that you're the creator of your reality, you don't have to believe that. Like, honestly, a big part of being the creator of your reality, from my perspective, is I'm gonna believe what I think makes sense, and I'm not just gonna take something on because somebody said it. And I think, again, I can't talk about why other coaches complain or what other coaches are doing, or if they're good coaches or not so great. I can only talk about my perspective and what I think about someone. But also, coaches have moments, human moments, or moments of like imperfection, so to say. So of course you wanna ideally look at people and learn from people who, from your perspective, are pretty much aligned, or as aligned as you need them to be in order to learn from them. So if you see that somebody is coaching and they're like constantly like complaining about others, then maybe it's not the ideal person for you, because you're seeing their potential for growth or their blind spots a little too much. So maybe you're not a perfect match. But yeah, I don't know if this answer helped you. Like, I was just kind of brainstorming what that could mean. But I think the lesson from that is, if you see somebody complaining, like, what story are you creating about that? And what does it mean for you if they're complaining? And honestly, if it just means for you that they seem in that moment to be unaware that they're publicly complaining, because probably that's what you're doing when you are when you see them, it's in some video, and for you it seems like it doesn't make sense. Like, it seems like they are unaware. It seems like they're not just like stating something that they've experienced, but they're really complaining and really going down a negative spiral. Then you wanna become aware of that and say, like, maybe that's not a person that I want to be coached by. No, that's what I would say. But maybe someone is speaking about something they have experienced in the past, or something that they themselves are still working on, and they're speaking about a problem with awareness. In that case, from my perspective, that's a little different. Like, you gotta see like what state of consciousness is that person speaking from. Are they aware? Are they describing a pattern? Or are they really just ranting and venting unconsciously and putting out really, really limiting beliefs without even noticing? That's a big difference. And I hope that this is helpful. I intend this to be helpful. What techniques are recommended for living in the end and God state? So for me, living in the end and God state is a little bit, is kind of a big difference. So living in the end is when you are imagining the end state of your desire. So for example, you want to be with a specific person, and let's say you want to marry them and you want to be with them. Like, you would imagine the end state, like there can be multiple end states, but for example, you would imagine the scenario where you're, I don't know, living together in your house, or where you're, getting married or something, where you're already together. That would be the end state. Like, it's like this kind of scene, this end scene. By the way, you can have multiple end scenes. Doesn't mean that if you want to manifest a specific person, you need to manifest marriage or living together or something. You can have like different steps of that. But the God state is not one scene or one end or one desire even. Like, the God state, from my perspective, is like the entirety of consciousness. It's infinite intelligence. It's infinity. It's all possibilities that could ever exist. Like, being aware that all possibilities are open to you. Like, that's God state. And from my perspective, like, it takes practice, like, to be in that state. Like, it's for me more like it's not even, that's why I also say God consciousness and not only God state. It's because, like, it's not like this one thing that you are and then you're in God state. It's more like like becoming more and more and more aligned with the incredible huge, expansive understanding that everything is possible and that you are the creator of your reality and that you are everything, basically. You are all possibilities. And becoming, like, allowing that awareness to kind of penetrate you and to, like, wake you up and to awaken you, because you can be a coach, for example, a manifestation coach like I am, and there are different levels of realizing that, which doesn't mean that you can't be a great coach if you're still learning. Of course not, you should be always learning. But what I'm saying is, like, it's not like you can say, like, oh, manifestation coaches or teachers or, I don't know, whoever, gurus or whoever you're looking at, they know how to get into the God state, and I don't yet, or I don't. It's not like that. It's like, I see it much more fluid. It's like, the more you allow yourself to experience infinite possibilities being available to you, the more you realize what God consciousness means. It's like not one-dimensional. It's like infinite, and that's why it's like something that can expand or decrease, and it depends on different factors. And I feel like I can talk forever about this. Yeah, it can expand within you, or it can decrease, like when you're stressed and when you're really focused on your human personality, like you're not that much into God state. But sometimes, your view opens, and then you are more aware that you're actually not the human, you're the consciousness. So that's the difference. Like, consciousness is really infinite. And when you're living in the end, you're choosing one specific reality or one specific perspective that you want to experience, one specific dream that you want to live, that you want to dream up. So yeah, that's the difference. Like, living in the end is you are opening up to that there are infinite possibilities, and you're choosing that one thing, that one dream that you want to live. And God consciousness is the entirety. And they are interconnected because, for example, now we are, let's say me, before ever realizing anything about that, me being identified with my human perspective, I would live in my locked in my perspective. I would live locked into my life and into my existence as a human being. And you in order to change your reality, you gotta access God consciousness at least a little bit. And we all are doing that. Most people are maybe not super conscious that they're in God consciousness sometimes, or that they're accessing God consciousness. Maybe they're not in it, but they're accessing a little bit of it. And that's how they actually create a change in their lives, because they have imagined something new and then they created it in their lives. What you're doing when you're manifesting, you're increasingly, oh, I'm excited, and that's why I'm like jumping over my words. So you're increasingly aware of all the potential, all the possibilities. And the more you do that, the easier it's going to be for you to pick one possibility, because you know how powerful you are. Now, when you're starting and manifesting, that's why some people maybe don't understand it, and they maybe don't understand manifesting, but they can still do it. Like, they don't understand God consciousness, but they still can manifest. So they just lock in on one end result, and they jump from one reality into another reality. And that's how they like manifest, but without really understanding God consciousness or the entirety of infinity. Like, it's not even possible to understand it, but to kind of get an intuition, a feeling, an experience of what that is. So that's the difference. And I hope that this was understandable. Like, you can manifest without going fully into God consciousness, because you are God, so you don't need to become it. Like, you're already it. But you can become more aware of what that means, and then you will understand that, oh, that's what manifesting really is. Or some people don't fully get it, but they still can be successful at manifesting, because they just use it intuitively. Like, they just lock in on one end result, and then they are just going there. Like, you don't necessarily have to understand God consciousness fully, but I think it is helpful. Yeah. But again, like, there's no black and white. Like, there are people who are amazing manifestors that I don't think like spend so much time thinking about God consciousness, and there are people like they know about God consciousness, doesn't mean that they are great manifestors, because they are not, you know, necessarily focusing so much on one reality that they want to create, because they don't, you know, they don't need it. They're in abundance. They might be happy just letting life or letting their subconscious mind create whatever it creates. All right, I do not enjoy affirmations too well, but I do enjoy meditations. But most people talk about affirming. That is not a question. You don't have to do affirmations if you don't want to, but honestly, I do recommend it. Like, they're working well for me, and I think they can work amazingly for everyone if you find your way of affirming. But honestly, if you don't want it, you don't have to. Like, choose what works for you. I would just think about reconsidering affirmations if you feel like what you're doing is not working. Then you might want to reconsider the tools that you have rejected. If it's working, like, who cares what you use to manifest? Hi, how are you today? I'm good. I'm chill. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really grateful. I've manifested amazing things this year. And when I think about it, like, I'm actually tearing up a little bit because I'm freaking happy and proud of myself. So thank you so much for that question. Good to see you again. Thank you so much. Good to see you too. Thank you so much for your genuine content. I'm thankful I found you at the point of my manifestation journey. Thank you so much for being here, Lindsay. It's such an honor for me to be doing this, honestly. Yeah, because in the past I was like, actually, manifestation was something for me that sounded almost too good to be true. Although I was manifesting stuff, like, I needed a little bit of time to realize that all the things that worked were things that I manifested. All the things that worked easily were things that I manifested, or successes that I manifested and felt like a reflection of me. And everything that felt difficult, like, was also the result of conditioning. So I feel extremely happy that I allowed myself to fully trust and fully go into manifesting, because it keeps on changing my life for the better so freaking much. Like, and it helps me live my dream life, and it helps hopefully so many people on here to live their dream lives too. Lindsay says, I've been consciously manifesting since November 2021 and have seen so many changes. My SP journey has been hot and cold, so I'm trying to back away from it and focus on God state trust. And that's that can be helpful sometimes. Like, I can understand it because I've done it too. And it's actually a wise decision, and you can always come back to it, like, whenever you feel ready. Like, sometimes we just need to focus on our own mental health. We need to focus on our own self-love, and it's you who is going to decide when that moment is. I did so too when I felt like I was too attached, and I felt like SP manifesting, like my SP manifestation journey, or my affirmations were coming from a place of actually avoiding the inner work that I had to do. So I think it's very, very thoughtful and mindful to sometimes pause and say, I don't need any SP. I really don't need anyone. I'm now going to focus on myself, and if I want to, I'll get back to it. And then you can get back to it. And I think it's honestly super fun, because it's also inner work, manifesting a specific person or multiple specific people. It doesn't always have to be romantic, by the way. Could be a friend, could be a family member, could be your family. Like, they're also specific people. Doing that is, you're learning so much about yourself. So I think honoring that this process is about you and really looking at, okay, what is best for, my mental health, what is most aligned with love and with consciousness, and doing that at any given moment. I think that's a very good advice. And it can be so healthy to take a step back from SP manifestation, because I get the feeling that there are many people who are kind of attached to their specific person, and the ones that are really successful and that are really manifesting great lives are the ones who are not so attached to that specific manifestation that they're forgetting themselves. Because when you're forgetting yourself, when you are not trusting, when you're not in alignment with God consciousness, when you're not in alignment with yourself, what value does a specific not in the sense that they don't have value, but what does it add to your life to manifest this person that you've probably put on such a high pedestal that the entire dynamic is really unhealthy? Because you can't even be yourself because you're so attached to this person. It doesn't make sense. And I think it's so important to prioritize our own mental health over manifesting someone that is maybe mirroring back to you the very fact that we're neglecting ourselves. I think oftentimes it happens with specific people. It's understandable. Maybe that's, not even maybe, that's probably, I'm saying it again, it's not probably the purpose, that is the purpose of a specific person. I know it because I've experienced it. I've experienced people where I looked into their eyes, and I really had this strong experience, and I was looking into their soul, and I was actually looking into my own soul. I was seeing what I was experiencing within. I was seeing it within them, but also that specific person or those specific people, they brought up those emotions within me for some reason. So it's so amazing that you're taking the time to come back to yourself and to prioritize yourself. It's very healthy, and that helps you to create healthy relational dynamics, whether this is with a specific person or with someone else. Anyway, I believe that life will bring to you, life consciousness will bring to you what you need, or not what you need, what matches your energy, what matches your vibration, what matches your belief system. So when you are in alignment with love and with self-love, then that's what you're going to attract or create or get a reflection of in your external reality as well. Wow, this was such a long live again. I said, I'll try to do 30 minutes, but I kind of felt that it could be almost 1 hour. So are there any more questions? I hope that this video was helpful. I noticed and I'm aware that I was a little bit excited over the entire video, and I was sometimes speaking a little bit quicker than I was actually, supposed to maybe. But I really feel that this was a great video anyway. And I want to say thank you so much for everybody who's here. I really appreciate you so much. If you want to join my live meditation practice, then check out the link that I'm going to put in the description box after the video is uploaded. I'll take a few minutes now, and then I'll put the links in. If you don't want to wait and go back to any other of my videos and check out my online shop, there is a meditation practice on Saturday where we are going to manifest contact from a specific person together. It's not a quick fix meditation, so don't do it because you're completely attached and want to manifest it now from an attached place, but do it because it's fun. Do it because you're reprogramming your subconscious mind. Do it because you want to feel how easy it can be to be in touch with your specific person, and it's natural and it's normal. Do it for yourself, do it for your own consciousness, do it to reprogram your subconscious mind. If you feel that this resonates with you, I'm happy to see you on Saturday. If you can't join Saturday, then you can still buy your ticket because it's cheaper now, and you'll get access to the recording after I've uploaded the meditation. And there are also other amazing services, resources, and meditations available in my online shop, and I'm so excited for us to maybe meditate together, and I'm looking forward to the next video. Now, thank you so much again for being here, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye bye.